What is up, hockey fans? Finally, it's time for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. St. Louis Blues and Boston Bruins. Kind of seems like we've been waiting forever for this to get going. And 10 full days off for the St. Louis Blues. 5 full days off for the Boston Bruins. Sorry, flip that. 10 days off for the Bruins, 5 for the Blues. I don't think it's going to affect either team. They both had a healthy amount of rest. So we're going to break down offensively, defensively, the goaltending matchup as we get set for this first game here in Boston. Let's take a look at the offense first of all and how these teams match up so far against each other, how they got here in the Stanley Cup Final. Boston Bruins with a bit of a decided advantage here as you take a look at the goals. A little bit better, 3.4 per game. Expected goals a little bit better, although they're outperforming that while St. Louis is right around where they're expected to be. Shots on goal per game again, favoring the Boston Bruins. And from the house, pretty close from these teams. They both know how to get to the slot, but a little bit of an advantage for the Boston Bruins. The one area where you will see a pretty decided advantage is in offensive zone puck possession, where the Blues have a lot more. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they are the better offensive team. It more reflects the style of play. They are a dump it in, get behind the net, cycle the puck around the boards, east-west, create traffic in front of the net type of team. Where the Boston Bruins, they can beat you offensively at even strength and on the power play with quick strike offense. So even though Boston scored more goals per game than the St. Louis Blues, the Blues get in that bump in zone time, and I expect in this series they will have the offensive zone possession advantage in pretty much every game. Not to say that it'll always translate to more goals. It's just the style that they like to play more so than the Boston Bruins, who are capable of doing it. But again, that's kind of St. Louis's MO. Let's take a look at the defensive matchup. A little bit more even when you take a look at these two teams so far. Goals against, again, favoring the Boston Bruins. Tuukka Rask has been playing out of his mind. They protect the slot pretty well, which you see a little bit farther down our graphic here. 13.1 shots against from the slot per game so far in the playoffs. Expected goals against is almost dead even. If you go a couple more decimal points, you'll see that St. Louis actually has a slight advantage, but round it to 2.8 per side. Shots against, again, the Blues winning in that category. And you take a look at the offensive zone possession against, again, St. Louis likes to play in the attacking end. They do a really good job of that, and it's something they'll try to be doing here in Game 1 against the Boston Bruins. As for the goaltending matchup, this one is Tuukka Rask up and down the board. You see he's got the lead in, point that way, all of these categories, all of our key goaltending performance metrics. He's been playing out of his mind. It's not that Jordan Binnington hasn't had a really good playoffs, which obviously he has, but I think if there is one Conn Smythe candidate so far in the postseason, either side, it's got to be Tuukka the way that he's been going. And where you see the really big difference with these two guys is in that inner slot save percentage. Point the right way. That way. When you look at 879 for Tuukka Rask and 781 for Jordan Binnington, that's that area right in front of the net where about half the goals are scored in the NHL. Tuukka Rask has been absolutely brilliant from this area. So even though the St. Louis Blues and the Bruins both are pretty good at locking down that slot area, if both teams get an equal amount of shots from right in front of the house, what it tells us so far in the playoffs is that that's advantage Boston. St. Louis might have to get there a little bit more to get an equal amount of pucks in the back of the net in this Game 1. Let's keep on rolling and take a look at how these teams create their offense. So this is something to watch going into this game when you're looking at how each team is able to create good scoring chances and ultimately put the puck in the back of the net. The area that you see the Boston Bruins really dominating is how many goals they score off the rush. This isn't just at even strength. You take a look at their power play as well. Incredibly dynamic, incredibly up-tempo in how they get the puck into the offensive zone and create offense. You'll watch even when St. Louis clears the puck on a penalty kill, the Bruins go back and get it, and they are moving straight up ice. They don't drop the puck back in the neutral zone a ton, which you see a lot of teams do in the NHL these days. It's quick passes through the neutral zone right into the offensive zone. And if they don't have to, they're not just looking to get set up and rim pucks around and get in formation. They're looking to attack the net quickly. So that's something to watch for in this game, is that quick strike offense of the Boston Bruins. You see St. Louis's attack is a little bit more balanced. They're 7th in cycle goals, 9th off the forecheck. Rebound goals, they rank very high as well. They do a good job of getting traffic in front of the net. You can bet to see guys like Patty Maroon and others for St. Louis as they make that cycle game work around the offensive zone. They'll be parked in front of the net looking to get rebound opportunities past Tuukka Rask. And finally, let's take a look how all of these lines match up against each other. You take a look at the expected goal percentage from each team's lines 1 through 4. Obviously, the top lines in both teams have been great. Patrice Bergeron centering one line, and Braden Shen the other for the St. Louis Blues. 63% expected goals while that Blues top line is on the ice. If you go to the Ryan O'Reilly line, it's up to 66% of the expected goals while they're out there at 5-on-5. Boston really good as well. That David Krejci line bumping up to 60%. Third line's really good as well. And the fourth line for the St. Louis Blues has been so key so far in the playoffs. Even if they're not scoring, they're able to get pucks in the offensive zone, keep the puck out of their zone. And when you're talking about a fourth line, that's pretty much all you can ask for. So Oscar Sundqvist and company have done a great job there. If the St. Louis Blues can stay out of the penalty box, as you see from the expected goals 1 through 4 here, they've got a really good chance to be competitive and ultimately beat this Boston Bruins team. It's that special teams that will absolutely kill you against the Bruins. Boston's been pretty good on the penalty kill so far in the playoffs. 34%, they have been electric on the power play. So if the Blues can keep it to 5-on-5 in Game 1, they've got a great opportunity to steal one on the road and open this series. That's your pregame matchup for Boston and St. Louis. We'll be back here on YouTube Live as well during the intermission, so make sure you click on the link, and we'll have a whole bunch of content coming out on our social media platforms at The Point Hockey on Twitter, animations, graphics, all period long, of course, our intermission updates, and we'll be right back here for some live commentary during the intermission. So enjoy the first period of game number 1. Finally, it's here, and we'll see you after 20 minutes.